You're watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. From Toronto, Ontario, this is Samia Sayed. Welcome back to the show. Now joining us very shortly is Sister Zahirah Lynn Eppard on a conversation to prepare our kids for the future. But first, let's take a look at some headlines. Bill to stop forced organ transplants. Social media giants to pay for reposting content. North York man allegedly sent money to ISIS. Boy hit by car in France after FIFA semi-final. And now the details. Bill S-223 was passed in federal parliament Wednesday, blocking the entry of foreigners involved in organ trafficking. S-223, or the Trafficking in Human Organs Act, also bans Canadians from traveling abroad to receive an organ transplant without the consent of the donor or someone authorized to give consent. Any Canadian involved in unauthorized organ transplants can be sentenced to a maximum of 14 years in jail. Last year, the United Nations experts alleged that China is involved in organ trafficking of the Muslim minority group Uyghurs in the East Turkestan region. The last sitting of MPs this year signals Canada is adopting tougher policies on China. The House of Commons has passed a Bill C-18 Wednesday that mandates web giants to compensate journalism outlets for reposting their content. Pablo Rodriguez, Federal Heritage Minister, says that the bill will, quote, enhance fairness by paying digital media outlets a due share for their efforts. Rodriguez says that the bill will protect the future of a free and independent press. The Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission will oversee monetary penalties on social media giants that do not comply with the provisions of the bill. Following the approval of the bill, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, has threatened to remove its news content from Canada. The FBI has arrested Wednesday a man from North York, Ontario, for allegedly raising money to buy weapons for ISIS. Khalilullah Yusuf and 3 U.S. citizens are accused of setting up fake GoFundMe accounts that were supposed to raise money for humanitarian aid for Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The money was apparently sent through PayPal and other money transfer services to an Islamic State organizer. Yusuf is accused of transferring between February 2021 and July 2022 around $20,000. They have been charged with conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization. A 14-year-old boy has been struck by a car and died in Montpellier, France, after the victory of the French team in the FIFA World Cup semifinals. People had removed the French flag from a car that then accelerated into 2 teenagers. The 14-year-old later died in the hospital. The abandoned car has been found close to the scene. The police are still looking for the driver. The French police have also arrested more than 120 people as riots broke out in France following the defeat of Arab team Morocco at the hands of the French. Lawmakers are condemning the rioters for, quote, racist violence. And that's it for the news. Now, have you ever wondered about the future? Especially when we have kids, how do we help them realize and achieve their dreams? What should we be teaching them and how? Moreover, how can we, from our side, do our best to make them good and practicing Muslims along this journey? Muslim Home's recent issue discusses just that. And joining us now to tell us more is Sister Zahirah Lynn Eppard, the Director of Religious Education at Sound Vision Foundation. Welcome, Sister Zahirah, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me once again.
Sister Zahirah, the first article in the rundown for the recent issue discusses future careers. What do we know about plausible career paths in the future?
So there's a tremendous amount of data being collected about this. We know that technology will be around and there's an increasing focus on artificial intelligence as well. But there will still be the kinds of careers that are people focused, that are health related, that are providing different kinds of labor, that are um, educating. We know that those will not be going away. So there's a lot of information that suggests that there are certain kinds of skill sets that people need and children will need too. Those things involve writing, language skills, analytic skills, critical thinking. All of those kinds of things are really important to make sure our children have at a very early age.
Mhm. What I found really interesting in that article is that they said for jobs in the future, there will be more demand for people who are multilingual. Can you expand on this?
So this is a really interesting situation, particularly for Muslims, because Muslims come in usually with one or more languages in their own households.
Mhm.
And we know that the global economy, the global news, the global influence is changing. And because we have access now to so much information and so much influence from all parts of the world, it goes without saying that we would have to be more reliant on a diverse workforce and more sensitive to the needs of diverse workers, and that's where language skills come in.
Mhm. It's interesting that despite us going online, we still have to really double down on our writing and analytical skills, which we typically associate with being on pen and paper. But another one of the recommendations for parents to help their children explore their interests and career paths is a passion project. Can you explain what a passion project is?
This article by Melissa Barreto was so interesting, and it's about trying to allow your children to follow what they're really interested in. Um, we can coach them and direct them in certain ways, but if the kids are not really interested or don't enjoy or love what they're pursuing, it makes a huge difference down the road, particularly in terms of a career field. Melissa suggested that you allow kids, you follow what they're naturally inclined to do. In her own household, this included one of her sons pursuing cooking. He loved to cook, and she loved incorporating his help in the kitchen and even allowing him to focus attention on meals. Another one of her sons really loved mystery novels. And so he, on his very own, developed a book club that would meet once a month to talk about a different book that had been assigned. By doing that, he learned all kinds of skills, organization skills, discussion skills. These were things that he was interested in already, and they're things that will help him into the future.
Mhm. Oftentimes, I hear parents say that their kids don't really have an interest in anything. How do they go about finding a passion project to work on then?
So I think sometimes parents get myopically focused on academic pursuits. Passion projects could include things like gardening, like art, like sewing, like doing any kind of community service work. There are all kinds of ways to pick up new skills. By allowing your children to participate in extracurricular activities, you may happen them into things that they enjoy, and those can be passion projects into the future.
Mhm.
Creative writing is another area that is a wonderful means of providing kids with an opportunity to learn more about themselves and learn more about communication generally.
Mhm. Now, I'm all for passion projects. I know that when I was younger, I used to build houses out of popsicle sticks, and it's something that I continue until today. And it's not my area of focus, but it's just something really fun and engaging to do. But when I try to propose this to the younger generation, people who are in grade 2 or above, oftentimes they'll say that, I'm tired from being at school all day. I don't want to work anymore. How can we encourage them to work on these projects if that's the kind of response we get?
So, a real passion project won't feel like work. And that's why something like working with popsicle sticks cannot bring you stress. It can actually be relaxing. It can help you decompress after a hard day. So, again, the focus here is parents allowing children to take the lead, to make the decisions for themselves. You cannot impose a passion project. A passion project organically develops.
Mhm. Now, another part of the future is quite a big one. It's financial planning. Sister Zahir, I'm wondering, when do we start introducing financial literacy to kids?
This can start really young because kids often have a focus on money anyway. They're paying attention to what you do with money. And so it's really important for Muslim kids to have a good understanding of what it means Islamically to focus attention on money and finance. We know that any money we have is a gift from Allah, it's a blessing, and we can teach children very early about that. They can collect money that they get. They can learn to save money. The photo that went along with this article, I absolutely love. It was of a young child with three jars in front of her. One said savings, one said toys, and the other said charity. We can help our kids in a very visual way understand that if the money belongs to Allah, then our management of it is what is important. And Laura Elameen's work on this topic was amazing. I would encourage all of our listeners to read that article.
Mhm. It was very interesting. And one point that I really enjoyed reading about financial literacy is modeling and voicing our thinking processes while making financial decisions. Can you explain for our audience what that means?
It means to not hide the work that's related to money or expenses from our children. Again, if you take your child to the store and you are contemplating whether to buy a generic product or a name brand product because of price, and your child is with you, focus their attention on the difference in price. Talk about whether or not that automatically means a difference in quality. Talk about what that means in terms of saving money. Also, big purchases can be something that a whole family discusses. If you're interested in going on vacation and you have a certain budget, you can talk about and think about how we can save in order to reach that goal, what it will mean diverting money from other kinds of activities, or if we want to buy a car, what it means to save toward a large purchase toward that. There are all kinds of big purchases we make in families, and our children should not be pulled out of those discussions. Including them in them allows them to see wealth and management of it as a very practical life skill.
Quite well said there, Sister Zahira. Something that I struggle myself with and wonder how to manage with my future kids is while planning our career, our future, and also living in the present dunya, how do we manage or feed our spiritual self, so to speak? How do we teach our kids to manage everything that's going on in their career, but to also live as a Muslim?
This balance is essential for every Muslim, and Muslim parents are responsible for teaching this to our children. And so, Wendy Diaz, one of our writers, wrote an amazing article about teaching our children about the day of judgment, about the approaching hour. If we have to know ourselves how to conduct ourselves and understand what the purpose of our lives are here in this world, children can understand that too, and we can make decisions then that are pleasing to Allah. It's essential that we know the signs of the coming of the hour, the day of judgment. Those things we are seeing happen around us. They include increased use of intoxicants, wine, increased sexual activity outside of marriage, increased natural disasters, time passing more quickly. All of those things can help children understand that the day and hour is really now. Let's make sure that we understand our religion and implement it in our daily lives.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Sister Dahira, and giving us one of those reminders and healthy tips on how we can prepare our kids for the future.
Thank you too, and I hope everyone can jump online and take a look at our most recent Muslim Home Parenting newsletter.
Mhm. You are watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. That's it from our Toronto studios tonight. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more Canadian Muslim content. Stay safe, and until next time.